Love of learning and civic involvement have always been cornerstones to my life. As an 18-year-old, I was among a handful of women who were the first in our class to enter our undergraduate institution and to earn a computer science degree. That probably dates me a little, but I am very proud of that I was a pioneer in a technical area. Throughout my life, civic involvement has been important. I had previously tutored extensively in underserved schools, and I was also on the board of a nonprofit which provided educational opportunities for adults who had not been able to, as Brian said is important, finish high school. And it provided opportunities to achieve GEDs, and I worked with that. So when I came to Broomfield, I felt very energetic that I was going to continue to pursue those educational service areas that I had pursued previously. And then things changed. In June 2016, the Wildgrass neighborhood received a lease offer from Extraction in our mailboxes. And I was suddenly thrust into learning a whole lot about oil and gas development in order to protect the health, safety, and property rights of my community. I was shocked to learn that the rules in the state of Colorado were not fairly written, so I had to learn a lot. For 3 years, I've been a permanent fixture at City Council, the Colorado Oil and Gas Conservation Commission, and the state legislature. I was instrumental in bringing the forced pooling issues forward at all of those locations because it was important to our community. At City Council, reform of forced pooling legislation received bipartisan support. And I think I was acknowledged by City Council as being a person who was very deliberate and thorough in their analysis of the issues. With split houses in 2018, I worked with Representative Matt Gray to bring forth and pass SB 18230, which brought protection of some issues on forced pooling to my neighborhood. So I have been to the state legislature, lobbied, and worked at that venue. I still work with a tremendous group of volunteers and grassroots leaders on the oil and gas issues in the area. None of us have slowed down at all in protecting the health and safety of the residents in Broomfield. In light of SB 181, Wildgrass Oil and Gas Committee has filed a protest on a boundary well spacing unit application off the Livingston pad. Everybody thought that was a done deal. It is not a done deal. Broomfield Health and Safety First just put forth a petition to allow citizens to express their disapproval of a possible initiative where the city is going to consider selling municipal water to Extraction for use in drilling on the Livingston pad. And I'm also involved with Broomfield Concerned, and for that organization, which is educational in nature, I've written over 500 blogs on oil and gas development over the past 3 years. So I want to state I'm not a career politician. I really never intended to be a politician. I'm not in it for the sake of holding office. I'm just in it for the sake of representing the interests of residents. I do have a wealth of experience in listening to the concerns of residents and in doing a lot of analysis and the hard work to represent the concerns of residents. This is a kind of outline of Ward 3 here in black. So you can see that it represents a broad expanse, 4 miles north and south and 4 miles east and west. So I've enjoyed canvassing the area and hearing what residents think are important to them as far as issues in Broomfield. So I'd like to share just a few of those concerns and important points that the residents have shared with me. One is they're interested to know what in the world is going on with the Civic Center. When is that coming forward? They're anxious, both young and old, to walk around the lake, to sample the local residents, the local restaurants, and to finally see the development of Safeway. There's a lot of questions with what is happening with Safeway. I'm also interested in attainable housing, and I heard that a lot at the doors. So it's not only the young adults, it's the grandparents who are concerned about the affordability of housing in Broomfield. My husband and I raised 2 millennials. We've been married for 34 years. I realized the challenges of raising young families and recognize that there are challenges for Broomfielders to provide their children with opportunities here. I've also heard concerns in knocking at the doors about senior services. So I'll admit I can relate to that too. Some of the concerns related to people who are looking towards the future. I was standing at the door of a 2-story home, and a woman was speaking to me about, where am I going next in Broomfield? I want to stay in Broomfield. What can I afford? So those were the kind of concerns I was hearing about senior services and housing. And then, of course, I heard a lot about, I love my open space. I want to see my open space and its importance, its expansion in Broomfield, and I want to see open space protected to a full extent in Broomfield. So that's a quick summary of the issues that I've heard residents speak about in my canvassing. And if I'm elected to Broomfield City Council to represent Ward 3, I intend to continue to listen to the residents of Ward 3, and I will continue, as I have with oil and gas development, to work tirelessly to seek solutions to issues. I am honored to have the support of Councilmember Devin Schaff in my campaign. Thank you for listening, and I'd be glad to answer any questions.
So it is outstanding, A. B, but what do you think makes it outstanding and sets it apart from other blogs that we talk about oil and gas and we talk about this impact of residents?
Yeah. That was funny when the CDPHE rep came up and said, he had heard me say my name in the rulemaking, I think, and then he came up and said, you write the blogs for BCC. But I think what distinguishes those blogs is that, it tries to present the facts in the matter in a way which still represents the concerns of residents. So there, it's different certainly from the city's announcements, I would say. The city's announcement presents the facts, of course, as the city wants them to be presented, and leave a lot of fill-in-the-blanks to the imagination. And I'm involved with a lot of citizens in the background. We send a lot of emails to each other asking, okay, can anybody fill in these blanks? The city isn't filling in right now. So we do a whole lot of research. We do a whole lot of research to fill in those blanks and try to present the facts in a fuller extent to the citizens. And the blogs are also in the other way, not extremely volatile, let's say. They're not extremely volatile. They certainly present a concern for oil and gas development in the area, but they're not presenting an extreme viewpoint, and they're looking at the facts. So thanks. Lacey.
So sometimes what I see on council is that there is an issue that comes up that maybe the individual doesn't agree with, but their constituents have told them time and time again how they feel about it. How do you feel about balancing the effort to, obviously you're an individual, you're a person, you have opinions, balancing your opinions to the opinions of your constituents and also working with council? How are you planning to kind of work those firms?
Yes, thank you.
I know that's kind of general.
No, it is a general question, Lacey, but it has very specific common implications. I mean, I can see it play out a lot as I've sat through council for 3 years.
Repeat your question, please.
The question was, I'm sorry, how do you see the balancing act between any conflict, any conflict that you might have as a council member between your own personal opinion and representing the views of your constituents? Is that right?
The council is body.
And the council as a body. Okay.
Sorry, that's a lot of that.
No. I think it's hard to answer that question without a specific application. I recognize that there's that balancing act all the time. I understand that I would listen to and seek the input of all the residents in the ward. I also understand that I am voting with an impact beyond my own ward residents to the greater population of Broomfield. And I also understand that I might not agree with the opinions of my residents. So I think I would have, if there's an issue where I can anticipate where my personal convictions might not agree with what I've heard from residents, I think I would have spent a lot of time in the background dialoguing with the residents so that I get a better understanding of where they're coming from, and then so I can make a better informed decision to see if my preconceived notions were correct in the first place.
One more question?
Hi. There certainly is a rare situation when one issue, like oil and gas, just really develops a community, but there are others. What do you think are some of the problems? You mentioned housing. I think it's transportation at 5 o'clock.
And I should say, Jim's question, for those who couldn't hear it in the back, was he prefaced it with the fact that oil and gas is an unusual issue and that it kind of developed in the community to be such a large issue. But he said he sees transportation as an issue in that same regard. I agree. I've heard that in all of these areas in Ward 3. In this part of Ward 3, we have a coming solution for, at least for the bottleneck on 144. I mean, it's in process of construction, but certainly we have hope that the widening of 144 is going to help some of the bottleneck in this area. In this part of Ward 3, I've heard concerns about getting out of the neighborhood to 287, that's becoming more of a bottleneck all the time. People who are driving north to Boulder can't get out of their neighborhood in Outlook. I've heard that now. So I think it's a continuing problem that has to be reviewed by the city on a case-by-case basis. And certainly When I was talking to the neighbors, I encouraged them to bring their concerns about traffic in their own neighborhoods to the city. Does that answer your question?
It's unanswerable.
It is, I mean, it is. I mean, it's a big issue. I'll say that. Yeah, and they did bring it to my notice.
Hi, can you please describe a specific time when you were working through an issue with someone that you fundamentally disagreed on, and how you got through that conflict, and what was the outcome?
Okay. When I referred to SB 18230, which ended up being passed in 2018 with the help of Representative Matt Gray, it brought forth small modifications to the forced pooling legislation. The party that I didn't mention, who was also a sponsor in the other house, was Senator Vicky Marble. So I fundamentally disagree with her on many issues. And I worked with her in order to make progress and an impact on the issue of forced pooling from my community. I worked with Representative Gray too, and we had to compromise a little bit in 2018 when there were split houses, but we did work together to make a difference for our community.
Thank you.